I think the other thing with that is it's not whether a walk, a hike, a workout, a bike ride, whatever it is, it's also that social connection. Do it with a friend, connect with someone. If you have a buddy meeting you at the gym at 5:30, you're probably going to be there. You know what I mean?
On this episode of the Don't Change Much podcast, we're joined by Trevor Linden, hockey icon, businessman, and champion for the Canadian Men's Health Foundation. So what happens when you step away from the game you've played for your whole life? Trevor shares how redefining success, the toll of the Ironman mentality, and the lessons of pushing through pain taught him why silence can cost men their health and why the conversations we avoid are often the ones that matter the most. I'm your host, Dan Murphy. Let's get into it. We talk so much about your playing days, but we haven't talked too much about, your childhood, and we don't have to get into it deeply, but we always hear you are where you come from, and you come from Medicine Hat. Your parents, Lane and Edna, still around. So what did they instill in you at an early age that perhaps you still carry with you to this day?
I was born in 1970 in Medicine Hat. My dad had a small business, and I think more than anything, they worked hard. As simple as that. I mean, my mom grew up on a farm, one of six. My dad. So when I was growing up through the 70s, it was life was pretty simple. We spent a lot of time on the farm working, and I remember those days. And I just think seeing my parents and the commitment that they put in kind of showed me the path. And I think also I think there's those family type dynamics that drive you in certain ways, but there's also people throughout your life, especially in your childhood, that act as mentors, which is really important as well.
Hard work. It's so different now for hockey players. We're the same age, by the way, both born in the 70s, and you see the way kids train now at the age of 13, 14. It's so much different. I think people were just basically starting to work out in gyms when we were our 12, 13, 14. Did you incorporate any of that, or was it basically skating and hockey and the farm for fitness?
Yeah, it's amazing, Murph, when I think about that. Like, I remember being 12 years old and loved playing hockey, obviously wanted to be a hockey player when I grew up, had no idea, what I was doing, going down to the local YMCA and just watching what the older kids were doing and then just copying them, but no clue. And really no, back then I was playing Medicine Hat minor hockey when I was 6, 7 years old. So I'll never forget, my junior GM, Russ Farwell, who also became the GM of the Philadelphia Flyers, but he was a huge mentor for me. I never forget, he told me when I was 12 years old, he said, Trevor, and 13 years old, he said, Trev, I don't want you playing hockey this spring. I want you playing baseball because, other sports will make you a better hockey player. Now, mentality's changed somewhat, but I still think there's some truth in that when we're talking about, young kids, and they don't specialize too early, but that was the mentality back then for sure.
Yeah. There's a great story Berkey always tells about, you giving him a call that you couldn't make it to one day of fitness training and I guess cycle analysis before the draft.
Yeah.
The interview. Can you maybe go over that for the people that have? I know it's exaggerated over the years, but
yes, it's grown. I mean, the foundation of it, Murph, is fact. And when Berkey tells it, it's amazing. So I wasn't drafted yet. We just won the Memorial Cup in Medicine Hat for the second year in a row, and I was gonna go in the draft 1, 2, or 3 kind of thing. Vancouver had the second pick. So they wanted to bring me in early June to meet with me and meet the organization and do all the pre-draft tests and stuff like that. So, and the weekend that they asked me to come, it was our family branding. And so I just said, hey, is there any chance I could come the next weekend or the next week, a couple days later? I just want to help my family do this branding. And Berkey was like, well, what do you do? He's like, what's a branding and what do you do? I said, well, basically my brothers and I, we kind of, all the calves are in this little corral and I just grab one and we wrestle them down and hold them and then they do the branding. And and all the inoculations and, the castration and Berkey really seemed to like that. So, and it was just an honest kind of thing in that I wanted to be there for Branding. I wanted to help out on the farm. I loved to farm as a kid growing up. So, yeah, Berkey loves that story. And nobody tells it better than him.
As any story.
Yeah.
That was your pre-draft interview, and I think it speaks right there to hard work and the family values. And of course, the Canucks did pick you second overall. And you came to Vancouver as a teenager. Did you feel the pressures right away of being a second overall pick and just 18 years old and coming into what was a big city for you?
I think when you're young, you don't really quite get it. I was, and I remember being drafted. I was, and we go to Montreal for the draft. We're in the Montreal Forum. I'm drafted second overall. And I remember thinking like, hey, that's great, but what does that mean? It means nothing. Like, and I said this, I think over my draft, like after I was drafted, and I always said, I mean, my goal was not to be drafted. I wanted to be an NHL hockey player, and I knew the job wasn't finished yet. So when I came into training camp, that fall, you talk about people around you and mentors and leaders and being around the guys like Stan Smeal and Harold Snepps and Garth Butcher and Rich Sutter. They were so good to me. I wasn't the most talented guy. I was a good player, but I applied myself well to certain situations, and a lot was expected of me. And having said that, being a second overall draft pick, Murph, I would say I got every opportunity to prove myself. And so the door is open for you. You just got to go through it. And I was able to do that.
So you didn't feel the pressure. You weren't conscious of it as much at that point because of some of the older players and helping you guide you in. But at 21, you did become a captain.
Yeah. And I think there was just so much excitement there, Murph, too, early on. I just was so focused on making the team. The captaincy, all throughout my young hockey career, even dating back to Medicine Hat, I was a responsible kid. I cared. I did the right things. I was always trying to be the best I could. And, even back when I was a teenager, 15, 16 in high school, and kids were out, going out and having fun on Friday and Saturday nights, which they should. I didn't want any of that. I was always a leader on the team. And so when I got to Vancouver, and obviously Pat was here, he was such a mentor for me. And that was really a responsibility that I wanted. I wanted that expectation. I wanted that pressure of being the captain, of being counted on. I look back now and see the effects that it had on me. But at the time, it's something I wanted, and it was a lot of pressure. And at times it took its toll on me. I mean, I remember I was super hard on myself. And, when you add that layer of responsibility with the captaincy, it's a lot for a 21-year-old kid for sure.
Now, obviously, you probably worked very hard at being a captain. You were one for a long time. Do you look back now at all and say, there was a lot of valuable lessons I kind of learned then that I wasn't thinking about, when I'm 45, when I'm 50, when I'm 55, but some lessons you learned throughout those years from the ages of 21 to 35 that you kind of carry on now and things that really helped you later in life?
Yeah. Amazing, Murph. I look back, me as a 21-year-old captain. And then, for example, me at the end of my career, I wasn't the captain. I was a leader on the team, but I wasn't the captain. But the way in which you deal with people and, it changes clearly. And for the better. I have this belief even now. I mean, you never stop learning, you never stop understanding, you never stop getting better. And I think certainly throughout a career, mine spanned 20 years, and I was captain at 21 and left the game at 38. I think the people that I came in contact throughout those years, and these are people that you wouldn't say are household names, or the Ryan Walters, the Randy Greggs, the Tim Hunters of the world that taught me so much in those formative years. Pat, was an amazing leader of men. When I went to the Olympics and played with Steve Yzerman, and the things I learned from someone like that, just seeing how they operate are not only lessons that I applied to my hockey career, but those are lessons that I live by today. And I would say that in our fitness business, Club 16, Trevor Linden Fitness, we have 400 employees. I still think about those leadership lessons I learned from Tim Hunter and Randy Gregg and Stan Smeal and Pat Quinn and Steve Eiserman. And those are foundational tools of how the culture we like to create within our company today. And I think that whether it's sports or business, there's so much crossover between those leadership values and just the maturing of a leader and how that looks. And just, I think it's the opportunity to learn, understand yourself and be better as you progress through life. I'm 55 today and, excited about the opportunity to understand myself more and to be better.
Before we get to the post-playing days, I want to take you back to a time that I'm from Vancouver and people in this area like to talk about a lot, and that's the 1994 Cup run. And I'm going to take you in a slightly different direction. We know that Jim Robbins' famous call, but you'll play on crutches, and just how the mindset in hockey players is the same. You try to play through absolutely everything, right? Especially at that time of year, you're not going to be kept out. But is there a line to be walked between that Iron Man mentality and actually doing damage to yourself beyond the summer?
Yeah, I think, it's interesting, Murph. Back when I played, we had this saying, and it's true, you kind of suffer in silence. You don't talk about your injuries, you just play. And when I take that into real life, I think about that's kind of a man's mentality, is you suffer in silence. You don't talk about how you're feeling. You don't talk about, where you are mentally. You don't talk about what's bothering. You just work and plow and provide for your family. And, it's not a great
message
mantra in life, message in life. It's not a great way to live by. And that suffer in silence mentality is I want to, that's one of my messages when I talk about men's mental health and like, that is not a good way to be in real life. It may be part of the sports culture, but it shouldn't be part of our regular everyday life culture. Cause I think it just gets us, it's not healthy. But definitely that was the mentality back then. And those 2 months of playoffs, when I think about that, and I think about it today, is the sacrifice. I think of the Edmonton Oilers losing twice in the Stanley Cup final, sacrifice that they made, it's the toughest, hardest 2 months of your life. And, for us coming up empty handed was hard. But I think when you think about sports, we love the thrill of victory. And with that comes the agony of defeat. And, only one team wins. And so that's why we love sports.
But in this life that you have now, especially as the, owner of Club 16 Fitness, you're probably preaching sustainable, wellness, where it kind of flies in the face of what you used to have to do just to try to win at the top levels of your sport.
Yeah. And I think that's what has really drew me to the Canadian Men's Health Foundation, was just that the message to men that don't change much, change some things, look at look at your family, you're responsible to them and how important they are. So take care of yourself. And I think that, Murph, we're 55 years old and you look like you're 35. I got a bunch of gray hair, so I don't really look like I'm 35, but I don't want to speak for you, but like we're thinking about, okay, like I want to max out what I'm able to do the next 30 years and stay healthy. So that means I want my mind, the mind-body connection to be strong. I want to be mentally taking care of myself, but also physically, I want to be able to go and hike with my buddies and go keep skiing and ski with my son and mountain bike with my son. And whether you're on your golf course, you want to make sure that you can still walk 18 holes and you're healthy. You don't want to be injured. So whether that's getting to the gym and doing some resistance training, going out for those walks, those hikes, those runs that you can kind of get some mental downtime and also get some fitness. I think more than ever now, my parents back in Medicine Hat, they're 83 and 82, and they're going to the gym twice a week and pushing weight around because the reality of how important our physical health is and how that connects to our mental health and is just never been never been more important to people.
Let's talk about that. You retired in '08. And you've mentioned your love of sports and always wanting to be physically active and always had interest in other sports. Did you know that you were going, as soon as you retired, did you already know that physical fitness was going to continue to be a big portion of your life? And was it actually essential to do that just to get your mind through that transition, which would have been a huge transition in your life?
Yeah, Murph, it's interesting because I think when I started my career as an 18-year-old, and I think I trained in the summer because I had to. That was my job. And I loved it and I did it, but I did it because it was what I needed to do. And then I think throughout the course of my career, I actually became part of my lifestyle, part of what I enjoyed doing. Now, I didn't love all the squats and the deadlifts and the stuff that really hurt, but I love and I think the gift of being a professional athlete is that practicing, going to the rink with the guys, that adrenaline rush and that positive endorphin rush you get from that is amazing. I mean, what a gig. You go to the rink, you practice with the guys, you get off the ice, you feel great. And what I didn't realize is how much I would miss that when I retired. Not the hockey or the camaraderie, but just that mental health piece of training. And so I was really aware of the fact that I needed to have that in my life, not only for my physical well-being, but more for my mental health. And so, working through retiring is always difficult because you go through a bunch of emotions. And, I was excited about my life after my career. And that's part of the reasons why, the Canadian Men's Health Foundation has meant so much to me. And, transitioning into Club 16, Trevor Linden Fitness and championing healthy living. And so it's a real connection for me, and just wellness for men is something that I think is so important, just that they, on top of their health, on top of their mental health, on top of their physical health, so that they can get everything out they want out of life and be good husbands and good fathers and that sort of thing.
Club 16 must have been a natural fit then when you're thinking about becoming a businessman.
Yeah.
Just in terms of your life and wanting to share that type of thing.
Yeah, Murph, after I retired, I took a million meetings about different businesses people wanted me to, and it never felt right. And then when I met Chuck, just talking to him, it felt authentic to who I was, and bringing value priced fitness to people and allowing them access. I mean, just the satisfaction. I remember when we opened our first club, and I saw, people in their 50s and 60s and 70s getting healthy and maintaining their lifestyle. And I always say whether you're 25 or 85, pushing weight around is a good thing for you. You know what I mean? And I believe in the merits of it. So it's something that I love and I believe in. So it was just it was the right thing at the right time. And 15 years later, it's been a great journey.
How much has the industry changed over the last 15 years?
Yeah.
To go more from just weights and cardio to just more wellness and how you're feeling as a whole?
Yeah, I think that, it's interesting. When we started, we saw a lot of heavy on the cardio side. And the biggest transition we've seen is just the resistance training that people want, and how important that is for people as we age, strengthen our bones, strengthen our muscles, improve our balance. And I think at the end of the day, it's changed from, I got my tank top on and I'm doing bicep curls, to, hey, I'm 55 years old and I want to ski this season. I want to keep myself fit enough that I can golf and ski and hike and do those things. And, whether you're, hanging out with your grandkids or whatever, I want to be that type of person. So it's really about wellness and overall health, and not big muscles, if you will. I think that's the greatest change we've seen.
Quick question, just about, when you play hockey, you play to win. It's a scoreboard. What does winning in business mean to you, Trevor? I mean, obviously everybody who's in business wants to make money, but aside from that, yourself on a personal level.
Yeah, I think, it's been, I think one of the things that I love about being in business is creating a culture where people can learn and be better. And I have this saying, leaders need leaders. And, I think creating an inspiring environment where we've got a lot of young people in our company and giving them the opportunity to grow, get better, learn. I always say to our group, I want our people to look back and say, that was a formative time in my life when I was at Club 16 Trevor Linden Fitness, because they cared. They cared about who I was and making me better as a person to prepare me for my life moving forward, whatever that might be. And so that for me is winning, when you create a culture and an energy within your group that people want to be a part of it. And the last few years I've gotten heavily involved again in the operations, and it's just been awesome working within that group. And in turn, I get inspired from working with people and feeding off their energy. So that for me is winning in business.
You've mentioned earlier in our talk that, one of the reasons you stay active is because you want to 10 years, 15 years down the road, ski with your son or play golf with your son or hike with your son. And so that's your motivation for that. But what about setting an example for your son?
Oh, for sure, Murph. Like my son's 8 and, and it's getting fun now. I mean, you've been through this. I mean, I went from I used to ski with him when he was little, like 3 and 4 years old. And it was like, I was like trying to plop him up. But then you get to this certain point where you're like, damn, this is fun. Like we're actually skiing and he's ripping and I'm having fun skiing. So, and yeah, for sure. As parents, we model behaviors for our kids. For example, cross-country skiing. I never did it as a kid, but my wife and I loved cross-country ski. So he's in a cross-country ski camp on Sundays. We take him out all the time. And Chris and I go on these multi-day backpacking trips and stuff. And it's like, we talk to him about it. And I was just kayaking in the Seashell Inlet with him and we camped for a couple nights. I want to expose him to the things that I love and that he will understand that, hey, dad thinks this is cool and dad loves this and mom and dad do this. And it's not to think he's going to be an Olympic athlete or anything like that, just that he has a bit of a role model to find happiness in the outdoors and activities. And, and at the end of the day, he'll chart his own path, but I want to, that's who I am. That's what I'm about. And I love having those shared experiences as a family, and we're able to do that now because he's older. So, I think being a role model for your kids is super important. That responsibility to be a role model for your kids and to really create a great family environment for them is super important. I think sometimes it's lost.
Yeah, you have to take care of yourself if you're going to set that example in the first place.
100%.
We're running out of time here, so I want to make sure I get this one in. You recently lent your voice to a campaign on concussions from intimate partner violence. Why was it important for you, especially as a male voice in sport, to kind of step into that conversation, that tough conversation?
Yeah, that was really impactful message for me. And when you use your voice to make a difference for, women, the equality, the importance of shedding light on something that's not comfortable for people to talk about. Intimate partner violence is real, happens way too much. And I think it's a conversation starter. I had so many friends of mine say, boy, we watched that message and that created a conversation with my teenage son, that we could talk about what that meant to him and why that's important as they go through their teenage years and start to date and why those conversations are important. It was something that I really wanted to be part of.
Yeah. Stepping into a space that's not, something very comfortable to do can really open up communication lines.
For sure.
For these type of things, especially. Okay, Trevor, we are on to the last question. I mentioned you're a champion, Canadian Men's Health Foundation. So what would be the one message after this conversation you'd like to leave with the listeners about, kind of taking ownership about your own well-being?
I think that, ultimately my message to men is, don't suffer in silence. There's help out there. I think the pandemic really shed a lot of light on our mental health. And I think on our ability to talk about our mental health and the pressures that men feel from providing for their families to the pressure they feel at work pressure. And I think that we need to prioritize our wellness, our mental wellness, our physical wellness. I mean, and I think that's got to happen first and foremost. And it's tough to find the time, but there's help out there. The Canadian Men's Health Foundation, their website, all sorts of help, whether it be mental health, physical health, all sorts of tips and tools and places that you can go. I've had so many more conversations in the last several years, Murph, about like talking to my buddies about how they're doing. Like, really, how are you doing? Like, what's going on for you? And that means talking about myself. What's going on for me, not just who's starting for the Jays tonight or who's playing Monday Night Football tonight. So I would just encourage guys to take a moment, step back, take stock in how they're doing, what's going on for them, because it matters, and it may not matter when you're in your 20s, but it starts to matter as you get older and you become a parent, and your family relies on you. So I just encourage guys to if they need help, get help. If there's help out there, and talk to your friends, talk to your partner. You open them
and
up.
I would, if you're covering the mental health aspect, I would just say for the physical part of it, never too late to take a little bit of ownership of it. And you never know what you're going to like. You might start setting goals. You might take the walk from 30 to 60 minutes. You might get a dog to help you walk. You might enjoy lifting weights again. And it's something you did when you were 20 and now you're 45 and you feel like it's too late. Yeah. It's not. Just start, because you'd be amazed at how quickly things can turn around.
100%, Murph. And I think the other thing with that is it's not whether a walk, a hike, a workout, a bike ride, whatever it is, it's also that social connection. Do it with a friend, connect with someone. If you have a buddy meeting you at the gym at 5:30, you're probably going to be there. You know what I mean? And you know what? You may have some fun. It's a hell of a lot easier. So get a buddy, make a date. That'll get you there. And so, and there is that social connection, because at the end of the day, we learned through COVID that we are social beings. We want to connect with people. We want to be together.
And you'd be amazed at our age, if you have the good morning habits, it forces you to improve your nighttime habits.
Well, Murph, yeah, I was in the gym at 5:30 this morning, and I will be in my bed at
9:30 tonight.
Well, that might be late. Yes. I will be asleep at 9:30. So, but you know what? And it's like, we talk to our kids, Murph, about screen time. One of the things I'm trying to do is just like, hey, phone is done. Read a book at night. Screen time is. We talk about with our teenage kids how bad screen time is. Well, people our age, we can put the screen down too. You know what I mean? So
no doubt,
death scrolling is real.
Put the phone down.
Yeah.
Well, Trevor, I really appreciate this conversation. It's not our first one on this platform. I'm sure it won't be our last. You continue to be a great champion for physical and mental wellness, and you've done a lot for others, and you're a great example to many. And we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Murph. Thank you for your time, and a champion as well. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to the Don't Change Much podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation with Trevor Linden, please share with a friend, leave us a rating or review, and hit the follow button. It helps us reach more people like you who would benefit from these conversations. For more resources to support your physical and mental health, visit menshealthfoundation.ca. Be sure to join us for the next episode with more real stories and practical tips to help men live healthier lives.